Hi everyone, welcome in our webinar. I'm Elisa Contessato, trainer at SEO Zoom, and today with me there is Roberta Barbato, team SEO Zoom, and our special guest Veruska Anconitano. Veruska, we are so happy to have you here today.
I'm happy as well. Thank you so much for having me.
Roberta, would you like to say something about SEO Zoom today to our class?
Yes, of course, as always. Okay, so hello again. I'm Roberta. I'm International Liaison at SEO Zoom. And again, as most of you already know by now, I'm here to properly introduce SEO Zoom before leaving the spotlight to our guest. So SEO Zoom is an Italian SEO software, the first ever created in Italy and the most comprehensive one that provides support in managing all aspects of SEO and search marketing activities, both on a more technical level and on a content and strategy level. The platform allows us to do analysis of keywords, URLs, and websites, helps us to improve our project, develop editorial plans, and in general to solve all the issues we could face when working within the SEO field. We have tools especially designed for big agencies or companies and SEO professionals, as well as freelancers, copywriters, or small website owners. So there's not a real level of expertise or business size you have to meet in order to use them. At first sight, the huge number of tools, features, data could feel, well, overwhelming a bit, but don't fret. We basically never leave your side with the wide range of free resources that are available to you, like, I don't know, video tutorials, our manual, daily blog posts, webinars, a live support chat, among the others. And speaking of free resources, it is also possible to book a group demo with me, fully in English, to better discover all SEO Zoom features. I will share the direct link to our calendar here in the public chat below, but you can easily access the book a demo section of our website at www.seozoom.com to browse all the available dates. During this 20-minute session, I will personally give you a practical demonstration on how to use our software to speed up and boost your daily work process and how to detect new growth opportunities. SEO Zoom is a software created by people who actually work in the SEO industry for those who work in the SEO industry. It is our direct experience, what we ourselves needed in our daily business, made sweet. And I will be very glad to share all of that with you. Now, before finally handing over the mic to Veruska, I wanted to let you know, if you're not familiar with the platform we're using, that there's a live chat box at your disposal below in the GoToWebinar window, and you are very welcome to ask there any further question you might have at any given moment, and it will be our pleasure to read them to Veruska at the end of the speech. Now, I think I stole enough time and that we're truly ready now. So back to you, Elisa.
Thank you. Thank you, Roberto. Okay, we are ready to start. If you're here today, probably you want to introduce your website and, of course, your business in a new market. And this is why we need international SEO, or better, and a bit of spoiler, multilingual SEO. So today, Veruska Anconitano, SEO multilingual consultant and globalization consultant, will talk about this theme today and help us to have a clear vision of what we need to do in our strategy and in our website. Veruska, we are ready to listen to your lesson. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's start. Let's dive into this topic. So let me introduce a little bit. So my name is Veruska. I've been working as a multilingual SEO and globalization consultant for 20 plus years, which is a lot, especially when you say it out loud. Some of my clients include Atlassian, Canva, TikTok, Samsung, Amazon, and way more that you can find on my website, LinkedIn account, where I blab about basically everything about language and SEO. I'm a polyglot. I speak multiple languages, and I'm specialized in sociology and sociolinguistics, which I apply daily on my daily job as an SEO person. I also work as a cultural mediator, which in fairness helps quite a lot when it comes to working in multilingual SEO and multilingual companies. And I have a master in data science, which helps balancing out the kind of vague environment when you are working with language. Backup with data is always good. I'm an international speaker. I've spoken at SEO Brighton, PubCon, International Summit, and many more events. But most of all, I love pizza. I profess and I consider myself a professional pizza eater more than multilingual SEO and globalization. I love pizza and I'm very, very bad at designing things. So I'm really, really bad at designing PowerPoints. So good luck with my presentation today. I hope my words speak louder than my design. So I want to just move past myself and start digging into the topic of multilingual SEO with a question. What is multilingual SEO? Multilingual SEO falls under the umbrella as a branch of international SEO. The big difference between international SEO, which is commonly the main one, the thing that people know the most, and multilingual SEO is that multilingual SEO is focused on the country or the area rather than on the language. For example, let me give you an example. If I have a website in English and I want to launch my product service website in Spanish-speaking countries, I have two options. Option number one is going international. So I decided to serve all my Spanish-speaking users with the same website. Or I can go multilingual, serving each Spanish-speaking country with a proper website. What does it mean? It means that in the first case, international SEO, I'm using generic Spanish or choose what is called the neutral Spanish. So a Spanish that applies to all the countries. If I go multilingual, I choose a specific type of Spanish based on the country I want to reach. To be more specific and give you a visual understanding of what I mean, when we talk about international SEO, we talk about a simple structure, site.com/country language ES. In multilingual SEO, we go very in deep. So we have site.com/ES_ES if we want to target users in Spain. We have site.com/ES_MX if we want to target users in Mexico, or ES_ARAG if we want to target users in Argentina, and so on and so forth. So within international SEO lies multilingual SEO. Of course, international SEO is much more simpler than multilingual SEO, but multilingual SEO has a lot of pros. First of all, enhanced local engagement. I'm Italian. If you reach out to me on a website and you want to really speak to me and you want to really engage with me on a very profound level, you need to serve the content in Italian. You can also say, okay, in Switzerland, people speak Italian as well. So I'm going to create a website for people speaking Italian in Italy and in Switzerland. But we speak two different kinds of Italian. So if I get served with content meant for a Swiss audience, even if in Italian, I leave. So the good thing about multilingual SEO is that you can speak to your users in their specific language because you speak the language of the country that they are coming from. This means increased global reach, improve search engine rankings because you are extremely focused on a country and a language, a superior user experience for local audiences, competitive advantage. The majority of companies, despite where everyone wants to go global, the majority goes international because it's easier, it's way cheaper, it's manageable, quite fairly easy. But if you go in depth and you go multilingual, you have a competitive advantage for all the reasons that I've been explaining. You have a higher conversion rates. you can convince, and this is not a good term, but you really can convince your user to click on something, to buy something, to purchase something, to leave their email address. If you speak their language, you have access to new markets. You can be creative as well, create content that are culturally tailored to the users that you want to reach. Overall, you have a brand presence that is much more strong than it is when you only do international. You have diversified traffic sources, because going extremely local allows you to find a stream of revenues that is way bigger than what you can reach if you have to speak with Spanish users from 50 different countries. Bounce rate is reduced, people stay longer on your website, you can create localized marketing campaigns and create this omni-channel, multi-channel environment where everybody ties up together, and you are much more relevant in local search results. And usually when I explain the pros, people start saying, oh, this is great, I want to do multilingual SEO now, or I wanted to do yesterday. Thing is that it is easier saying than done, because even if multilingual SEO enhances trust and credibility with market-specific audiences, there are a lot of challenges and a lot of problems sometimes, and these challenges can overtake the pros. So the cons can overtake the pros in many cases. First of all, the main big challenges are higher costs. And when I say higher cost, I mean in terms of resources. So people working on a project, stakeholders, maintenance, everything, pretty much everything, tech stack, everything. And with higher cost, it also comes complexity. Managing multilingual SEO is extremely complex. You need to have local specialists from different countries. Then you have to have managers. Then you have to have project manager. Then you have to have liaisons between all these people and other stakeholders. It gets really, really, really complex without even considering how hard it is to analyze performances. What kind of KPIs can you set up? Do you have to set up KPIs that are specific for the market, but also KPIs that are comprehensive, that can give an idea of what the business is doing and how the business is doing internationally? You have technical challenges from hreflang to managing complex implementation in terms of languages, but also, and this is something that very often is overlooked, length. Different languages require different technical implementations, otherwise they can be, certain languages require more words than others, and if you don't have the right setup, it's an issue and it's a problem for SEO. It's hard to adapt to the local and new market. You need to continue updates across languages. You may need a TM, which is a translation memory system. Every time you publish something, it has to be basically aligned, and it has to sync with other content that have already been published. So the more you go in depth, the more time you need to see the effects of what you're doing, without even thinking about all the cultural issues that multilingual SEO brings with him, cultural misunderstandings, offenses, SEO mistakes due to language nuances, to language backgrounds, to basically to cultural things, challenges in keyword research across different languages. How do I maintain my core messaging across all my markets, but at the same time, how can I be specific? How can I be relevant for the specific markets? Not to overlook, but legal and compliance issues in different countries require a different kind of approach when it comes to multilingual SEO. If you are from Germany, or you have ever worked in Germany, you know what I mean. Or even Japan, I do a lot of work with Japan. It is extremely crazy. Before you publish something and you're just thinking, okay, I'm doing SEO, I'm not doing anything, you need to have a clear idea of what are the potential implications and legal implications of what you're publishing. And the complexity in managing multilingual SEO is also about not being able very often to create time-sensitive things, to do time-sensitive campaign, create time-sensitive pages, because there are multiple layers of things that you have to be aware and that you have to consider. So we saw that the pros are good, but if you start doing multilingual SEO and you make mistakes, you actually, the credibility and trustability of your company will be affected badly. So the issue is multilingual SEO worth it? And the answer can only be, it depends. And it depends by a lot of factors. And in multilingual SEO, the it depends factor, it really depends. It's not something that we say in the SEO community. We always say that we say it depends to everything. In multilingual SEO, if you don't say it depends, you are making a big mistake, because it's never white or gray. What are these factors that basically can affect the feasibility of a multilingual SEO project? Lack of resources, technical staff, people, professionals, project management plan, buy-in from stakeholders, lack of customer support. If I do something but I don't have a support from external for other colleagues, why I'm doing this, a limited target audience. Very often companies just see an opportunity and they think that they want to target every country that doesn't speak English, and they want to go multilingual, just to realize that basically their target audience is limited in a given country. So it's a big factor, because you put a lot of money, a lot of effort just to realize that it was worth it. Technical challenges, your platform has to be ready to not only to accommodate the different markets and the different instances of your website, but also to make sure that every time you make a change, you follow up in the different instances, or that the backend is customized in a way that if you make a change on a locale, it doesn't reflect to all the locales. And this is something that happens very often. Someone makes a change in France and it reflects to pretty much all other countries and all other instances, because people just say, if it works in French, it works everywhere. I think it's never like that. And then competition. You want to enter a market, you want to go multilingual. How many companies are doing the same? How much time do you need before your effort really shows up? SEO is not something that happens from today for tomorrow, something that takes time. In a very highly competitive market where you are like the outsider, it takes even much more time. So, and it really affects multilingual SEO feasibility. So the key when a company wants to do multilingual SEO efficiently is to think outside of multilingual SEO. In reality, not to think about SEO at all. Forget about SEO, forget about keywords, and focus on everything that surrounds the expansion into another market. So what it is called globalization. All of these factors contribute to the success or insuccess of a multilingual SEO strategy. From market research to product fit to customer service and support in another language to brand positioning and marketing to risk management, everything affects SEO deeply these days, especially now that we live in a world where everything is interconnected, even campaigns. So I want to show you why these elements can make or break multilingual SEO. And let's start with the most obvious one, market research. So when we do SEO, we overlook, and that's almost always overlook market research. We tend to focus on keyword research. We assume that if we do SEO in a market, the company knows why. The company has a vision, so they know already everything about the market. Thing is that it always never happened. Before even starting thinking about going multilingual, it is necessary to have a foundation, a market research foundation. Why? Because it's the only way to understand A, if there's a demand, putting keywords aside, B, what's the competitive landscape, C, how people search in a given market, and how the way they search affects my multilingual SEO strategy for that specific country. But also, what are the challenges in terms of social situation, cultural situation, economical situation. Market research is the foundation for doing a successful multilingual SEO. The market research for each and every country that you want to target. No market research, no SEO. Supply chain management. Supply chain is basically everything that takes into consideration how a product or a service a product or a service gets from your website to the end user. So in the case of a product, let's say you sell something on the web, your supply chain management is how the product gets delivered. But it's not just like that. It's also the user experience you offer on the website. So when a non-English speaking user land on a website translated in their language for their country, they expect to have a seamless experience. They want to know that they want to buy a product, so they have to be lured in and be guided into the buying steps. The buying steps don't end at users clicking the button and buying. It ends when the product has been shipped. So the user has to be put in the condition of knowing what's happening when he buys. What courier will deliver its product? How many days? What happens if they have a problem? What happens if they want a follow-up after having bought it? And it's the same for digital products. If there is no supply chain management in a specific language, it is impossible to do multilingual SEO. And you know why? Because if we have an e-commerce page in France, and we do this amazing SEO campaign, we localize, we do everything that we can do, the page ranks first place on Google, users click, they buy, they read everything, they're happy, SEO brought them in. Then they click on buy and boom. They don't know what happens after. Everything is in English. They don't have information on when the product is going to be shipped. They don't have information on how to follow up. Or if they have information in English. They leave and they don't come anymore. So we did spend time doing something in SEO that could have been incredible, amazing, could have bring money to the company, but ended up not bring anything because there was no supply chain management organized for the local user in France. Financial consideration is another extremely important thing. When we do, and it's tied up with the same aspect of supply chain management. If I buy on a website in Korean, I expect to have prices in Korean because I'm a Korean person. If I see pricing in English or in dollars, I start questioning who are these people, why do I pay them? I'm going local. I'm going to someone that can ensure me that they know that this product costs X because in South Korea this product can cost X. Replicating the same model that you use for your source website in English in this case to other markets without understanding, for example, how the VAT works in other countries, how the taxes works, the currency, the strategy, what are the players, why people should spend more or less for your product based on where they are. It's a way to fail in general. And it's the same, it's exactly the same thing that I've explained before. If someone lands on my page because I'm good at SEO, I did create this amazing page in Korean, SEO optimized, ranks first on Naver or Google. But then when they come into the page, they see the pricing is in the US dollars. There's no information about the taxation that they have to pay, taxes that they have to pay, because everything is customized for the Americans. They just don't buy. So your effort has been failed, and the company has spent money for your SEO effort, but also has lost money because their users won't come to your website anymore, and they prefer to go to someone else, even if that someone else has less authority than you. Customer service and support is huge, 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 huge for multilingual SEO. And it's tied up again to the same thing. We can create the best pages, make them rank in every language, but what happens after someone bought a product or left an email and they have a problem or they want a follow-up, and they go to the website and they start typing and they get someone speaking in English or in another language, and these people don't know how to speak the language that the user is speaking. There is a business connection. So again, we bring in people and then we let them, we fail at, first of all, converting them very often, and secondly, in retaining them. Unsatisfied user is unsatisfied always at the last part of the interaction with a company. So even if SEO brought them in, if the user is unsatisfied because no one speaks their language, they have no training material available to learn the product, or they don't offer any quality assurance, they feel like they have been fooled. And so the effort is not worth the result. Customer service and support is really, really big. And a lot of companies fail on this, both small and SAS, the biggest one, and are starting to understand that the world doesn't speak English, not all the world speak English. So if you offer something, especially if you do multilingual SEO campaigns in another language, you have to offer everything in the other language. You can have one piece of the puzzle in, I don't know, Spanish for Spain, another piece in English, because this creates this connection and this creates a strong gap between the company and the user. And in the middle, there's SEO that is supposed to bring traffic and revenue, but in this case, it's just bringing useless people because they come and go. Brand positioning, again, if there's no alignment between the different stakeholders, multilingual SEO is a failure. And I explain you easily, that's easy to understand. Let's say I'm doing SEO for, I don't know, Canadian French people. And I choose a specific language. I'm positioning my website and I'm very happy with what I'm doing. Then there is the digital PR campaign that is not available for French Canadian speakers. And when they do a digital PR campaign, they do them in English or they do them in neutral French so that they reach out to both French from France and Canadian French. Or Facebook, same thing. They may use neutral French. The big disconnection here is that, again, multilingual SEO serves as a purpose to bring people into the website. But when people start browsing around and see different messaging and different brand positioning and marketing strategies, they are starting to guess, okay, who is true? What is true here? The Google showing me one results, or the social media showing me other results and a different kind of approach. And it's when so it's actually one of the cases where social media takes the majority of the users. It's actually when social media is trusted way more than Google. So multilingual SEO becomes just untrustable. The need for an omnichannel approach, using the same tone of voice, using the same language, using the same customization for market is essential to create a cohesive space where a user that doesn't speak English and is coming from a specific country, speaking a specific language, feels at home. You want the users feeling at home. And if you start saying SEO use French Canadian in the right way, but then Facebook, the social media team use neutral French, PR use English, someone else, the newsletter is in English because we don't have a team speaking French Canadian. All these things create confusion in the user. And at the end of the day, waste of money, waste of time, one user less. So at this point, I'm kind of sure that you're asking, okay, this is too much. But you may also say, okay, I'm ready. Usually a company is ready to do multilingual SEO when they are at 70, 65, 70% of the optimization of all the other aspects. The optimal would be 80, 85%. The excellence would be 100%, but 65, 70% is already a good starting point, because with data then you can always refine your approach. So how to do multilingual SEO if your company is ready to do multilingual SEO and you want to do efficiently? I'm not even considering the technical side of it, which means choosing the URL structure, the navigation, all the technical optimization on the backend, hreflang canonization and stuff like this. I'm just focusing on the more actionable things to do. First of all, you need to know your audience. You have the market research. And if you don't have the market research, you need to have one. That's why there must be a constant talk between the different stakeholders. You have to know your audience, not just because you want to know how much they can spend, so that you know how much, what you can promote with your SEO effort. You want to know your audience because you want to know what is their demographic, first of all, but also how do they search, but also where do they search? Certain markets, TikTok is becoming predominant compared to Google. So the first touching point can be social media for certain demographics in certain markets, and then move to Google. You need to know this. It's what it's called the ethnographic research methodology. You need to know more than just what's their age, what's their profession, how much money do they make every month. You need to know what they search and why they search. Knowing the audience also means being aware of what's happening in the specific country in a specific moment. And if there is implicit intent behind what people are searching. People may search for I don't know, one of the most popular searches is best mobile phone or best iPhone 14, for example. But it's not that simple. You need to understand if people in your market are searching for best iPhone 14 because they can afford it, because they fear that they cannot afford it and they want to find an alternative, because they have FOMO, because they have seen an advertising, because they have seen an influencer promoting it, or for whatever other reason. knowing the audience means understanding their value, their behavior, search behavior, their motivation for search, and how they search. After this is conduct local keyword research, which tied up with the third point of this very brief list that doesn't touch every point, ban translation tools. Too often, people start from keyword research in English and then they translate in other language. It never works. Every market has a specific set of keywords related to a product or service that can be found only by local specialists or people that speak the language. If you translate one by one, it means you're losing a huge chunk of people and a huge opportunity, because you may find that a more converting keywords for your target market has less volume than the one you translated, but it conveys the message better, or it's much more closely tied up with the company and the product that we are working for. And translation tools, despite they are useful, they can be useful, are a way to simplify things that cannot be simplified. Because when someone translates using a tool, they lose the cultural connotation. They lose the ability to understand why people are searching that thing in that way and how this affects your SEO strategy. Next point is create language-specific content and localize existing content. There's always this two-tier approach. At first, the companies go, let's translate everything that we have, because we have 1,000 pages. So it's good for us to get things translated in Italian. Just to realize that the truth is that no one is searching for that thing. So translating is just a waste of money and time, because you have to do keyword research, you have to hire translators or creators, you have to put in place all the technical adjustment, when you should perhaps create more language-specific content that speak specifically to your target audience in their specific language, and while conveying your message and while allowing you to sell your product, service, subscription, or even just your brand to someone in a specific and more tailored way. One of the things that is always overlooked is UX and UI, and these two elements are becoming more and more important for SEO as well, especially with the latest updates from Google. UX and UI has to follow the same pattern as local keyword research. You cannot just go, if something works for a market, it works for another. It's not like that. People react to CTA in different ways based on their social and cultural background. There are different kind of cultures, and I'm not going into this, but just to give you a little bit of an introduction. High and low culture, and it's not about how much money they make and how poor they are. It's much more about how they perceive themselves within a specific place, how they relate to the other member of the society, if they are part of an individualistic culture or a more communal culture. And the UX and the UI have to reflect this. Every country has certain norms and rules and a certain way to react to elements, visual elements, colors, words, position in a place, in a page, everything. Everyone reacts in a different way. And this affects a lot SEO. If people see elements that they don't recognize, they leave. Very often they leave. If people see something that captures their attention because it really speaks to them, for example, a button placed in the right way or phrased in the right way, they start clicking, they start browsing on the website, they start interacting with your website. The more they interact, the better your ranking is, the better your SEO ranking is, and basically your effort is paid off. And last but not least is the use of internal data. When when going broadly and multilingual, very often what companies do is just like, I want to enter X number of markets, but they never consult their data. Is there a demand? Are people coming from that country into your website already? If not, there is no need to enter the market, or at least it cannot be your priority. So, and this is also something that should be monitored constantly. Sometimes when we start a multilingual SEO project, we notice that certain countries speed up. So certain countries are way more fast in interacting with a website than others. So it's up to the SEO person to decide, okay, I want to focus more on the countries that are already interacting with me because I already see results, or I want to balance things out and I want to focus more on the ones that are slow to adopt and to interact with my website in order that I reach a balance between the different countries and in order to make sure that I organize my effort efficiently. Internal data is crucial. Internal data on people's pain points, on clicks, on how and why do they exit the page. And it's really, really important to create a multilingual SEO strategy that is sustainable and efficient as well. Then there's the option of not doing multilingual SEO. Too many companies fall into the trap of wanting to do it because they have seen someone else doing it. It doesn't work like this. Again, there are a lot of consideration, but if a company misses the foundation, they shouldn't back off and just say, I'm not ready to do multilingual SEO. I'm doing international, which is fine, because in that way, over time, you will see what are the countries that are interacting with my website the most. So those are the countries that perhaps I could pursue next. So start with the basics and don't do multilingual if you don't have the foundations ready. All the factors that I've explained earlier. And one of the questions, and I'm almost done with this presentation, the questions that is coming up all the time, whether it's from clients, people at trainings, mentees, peers, is, okay, I can do multilingual using AI, can I? And the answer is, again, it depends. Because there are risks of AI in multilingual SEO. I am a data person. I have been working with NLP for a very long time. I was also in charge of training a vocal assistant for a huge mobile system. So I know how powerful it is, AI it is, and how important and how crucial can be in SEO and multilingual SEO. The problem is that when we go into the domain of language, AI presents a lot of risks. First of all, data quality. Different languages have different level of quality regarding their data. If you go, of course, English is the most developed, then there's Spanish, but all the non-dominant, non-English languages have really huge problems in terms of data quality. And this affects stereotypes, reinforcing stereotypes, creating bias. Imagine you put everything in the hands of an AI to create your multilingual or your strategy in a language that you don't know. You can risk not only making a mess, in fairness, but also risking your brand awareness, your brand position, your brand authority in that domain. AI can misinterpret local user intent because they don't understand. It's a machine. They don't know what's happening in a country in a specific moment and why people search for this. They could be searching again because they feel FOMO for something that's happening somewhere else or somewhere else. But the AI doesn't know it, so it may suggest things that have make no sense at all. It doesn't have an understanding of nuances, can mix languages and idioms easily. Try, now it's better, it's getting better, but a few months ago, I asked ChatGPT for a presentation to give me the translation for the word popcorn in all the Spanish variants available. It gave me just one translation. According to ChatGPT, there's a word for popcorn that is usable and used all across Latin America and Spanish-speaking countries, which is absolutely untrue. It easily mixes up languages and idioms. But there is a way to use AI in multilingual SEO. First of all, it can help automate SEO tasks, but most of all, it can help you understand and analyze market trends for your country, for the country you want to target, international user behavior and sentiment. So why people are searching in a specific way? Why are they coming to website from that specific country? What their user behavior? Can analyze the language they use to search. You can start, for example, from Search Console and feed the AI with all the researches in all the queries that came through that allows users to arrive to your website in a specific language, and ask the AI to generate an analysis of the language used, the way and the why they come into your website. And it can help you in terms of competitor analysis. You can feed the AI with the websites that you think are your competitors and ask the AI, whether it's ChatGPT or others, in-house tools, something that you create, whatever, and AI to tells you what the competitors are doing, what you should do to outrank them, and most of all, the backlinking profile, for example, something that we used to do manually, or most of all with a lot of different tools, we can now do with AI. Always reminding that it's helpful for analysis, but it's not helpful for executing things. And that's probably something that you have heard somewhere else. Human filter is always needed when it comes to using the AI for SEO. I want to close this presentation with 2 case studies to show you how customization per market and not per language can be extremely beneficial. The very first one is HubSpot. HubSpot has this huge blog / magazine where they post articles, guides that serve 3 purposes. First of all, they serve SEO. Then they serve the sales team. Third, they serve the cultural need of the market where they operate. What does it mean? This is something that they have published in English. It's very old, quite not very old. So it's in English. HubSpot sell something, actually it's free, a social media calendar template only for specific markets. One of these is English. As you can see, this specific content is not available anywhere else, in any other part of the world, for a simple reason. They don't have it translated, they don't have the template translated, and at the bottom of the page, there's also the opportunity to sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter is not available in other countries. So if someone used the switcher, the language switcher, to go to another, to read the same article in another language, they wouldn't have the same experience as the English-speaking people. So they decided not to localize, not to do any SEO on this piece of content because the foundations were not there. So while doing multilingual SEO, HubSpot is conscious that you can only do it if you have the foundation, the basics laid out pretty well. Same happens in Spanish. This one is specific for Spanish-speaking people. In this case, is Mexico. Again, it's not localized in other languages. And in this case, we have also another interesting thing. The title that they use is extremely tied up with a specific cultural way of thinking about time at work, saving time, not spending money, which is extremely tied up with the cultural landscape, the cultural backbone of the Mexican society. So this content is for the Mexican-speaking people. It's not translated because it wouldn't have the same effect in other markets. And most of all, the templates that they are serving the Mexican users are not available in other countries. Same thing, again, exactly the same thing for German. In this case, they have even more resources in German that are not available in other countries. Do not translate, do not localize this content, do not do any SEO, just forget about it. Just do everything for Germany, and that's it. And the second and last example is Amazon. Amazon is an SEO powerhouse. And I want to show you something quickly, extremely quickly, which is basically how they structure the homepage. The homepage, you may, if you have browsed Amazon in different countries, you have recognized that each country has more or less the same basic design, but then the menu changes. Why it changes? Because they recognize that every country has searched for different things. So the categories needs to change. Here, if I show you, if I do back and forth between the Australia and the Japanese one, you see the Japanese one includes way more categories and it's a different design than the Australian one, because the Amazon team has analyzed the situation and says, okay, Japan search for these things, so we need to have categories and we need to feature them on the homepage. And it's not just like this. If you compare similar homepages, like I don't have now the screenshot here, but if you go, for example, to Amazon in French for Canada and in French for Spain, for France, you notice that a lot of the categories in the menu are the same, but the wording is different because they know perfectly that they want to target people from these two different countries and they want to speak with them using their own language. If they use the same type of the same words, both for French-speaking from France and from French-speaking users from Canada, they will lose one another. And that's why the examples, the lessons here is that it's not just the single page, it's just the overall feeling of a web page that basically has to speak to the users of the country. And because nowadays, every aspect contributes to creating a multilingual SEO, which is successful or unsuccessful. And in the case of Amazon, it is extremely successful, as you can see, because it's extremely customized to the country and not to the language. And that being said, I'm done speaking. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope it was.
Thank you for your lesson, very interesting. And I think that everyone, when coming a website, want to feel like it's at home. And probably the multilingual aspect is one of the main points to help people feel at home in a website, and so to create trust and awareness with the brand and help then the buying process, for example. I have the first question for you. You talk about all the risk of AI in multilingual SEO, but what do you think can be, on the other hand, the opportunities? I was thinking about, for example, its use on customer care for multilingual website. Of course, AI, I think, cannot be effective like a human customer service, but do you think there are opportunity in this, or not really?
I think, as I show you in one of the slides, there is an opportunity to use AI multilingual. Everything that is in the domain of analysis is a great use of AI. Customer service is a little bit tricky. So there's a big difference when we talk about LLMS, so language model, and chatbot. And I think that's where the confusion lies in, because a chatbot is something that a user expects to see a certain behavior from a chatbot, and that's something that it's easy to implement on a multilingual website because you kind of guide the user throughout the request for an answer. When you implement AI, so using LLMS, users expect to have some sort of real conversation with this entity. So they expect something that is a mutual exchange of things. This means also that they expect the AI to speak their language properly, while they don't expect the chatbot to speak their language because they know that it's a predetermined, preset thing. With the AI in the chat and this ChatGPT sense, it's a little bit more complex. It requires a bit more adjustment. It can be achieved, but it's not that easy as just using a plain chatbot.
Okay, thank you. Roberto, there's any question from the audience?
Yes, there is, and thank you, Veruska. It was a pleasure for us to hear your contribution, and I can see that everyone could draw something useful from today's webinar. So again, thank you. There were a couple of questions, so let's roll with them right away. Okay, number one. In your experience, what have been the most significant challenges in adapting SEO content to reflect the cultural nuances of different regions? Can you share a specific example of how you overcame one of these challenges?
Yes. Well, there are a lot of ways to approach this. And that's where I think that having local experts that are not just SEO experts. So that's one of the ways, for example, that was successful for me, and it is successful for me when I face this. I'm actually facing a challenge like this right now, kind of, is to put together a multidisciplinary team. So we tend to think that, for example, SEO in multilingual does SEO. Then there's the localization team that does the translation and exit. And then there are the writers. What if you combine all these expertise in one powerful team where they can actually not only be asked to do something, but to proactively suggest how to do that something. So you will have the SEO person suggesting the use of keywords and how to implement them. Then you will have the writer saying, oh, I think that, for example, here we could add CTA because I know for a fact that in my country, people love CTA when they see that. And then you can have the translator saying, okay, we can translate this, but why don't we transcreate this part? And why don't we, instead of doing one-on-one, why don't we just use the same message, but in a different way? So I think that's when you need to combine expertise. And that's what worked for me, always worked for me.
Good. Thank you so much. Okay, number two. You mentioned that one of the disadvantages of multilingual SEO can be reduced effectiveness in smaller markets. What specific strategies would you recommend to optimize SEO impact in these areas where search volume might be, well, limited?
So I knew someone would come with this, and I love this question because I didn't put it on the presentation. But when doing multilingual, one of the things that I always recommend my clients is not to focus on keywords.
Okay.
Because you may see that a keyword has a lot of volume in one market, and you just may see, okay, it doesn't work pursuing this in this other country because it's too low. But that low volume can really be way more valuable than a big one, and that's exactly the same thing as when you face low target audience in a specific market. How valuable is this target audience? So it comes back to all the preparation before even starting multilingual. Are they high spenders? Because if they are, your market can be really small, but it can be like your gem, like you're really, really, really your gem. Or it's not worth it. Sometimes it's not worth it because they don't have money, they don't have need for what you sell. So it all comes from before even starting to analyzing the situation and just assessing it's worth spending even doing just a little bit of effort to see how it goes, and then eventually scale it. Or it doesn't work for now, so I'm gonna stick with English and serve this country English content, because why not?
Of course, of course. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. And everyone, if you'd like to hear and read more interesting things from Veruska Anconitano, we made sure to share our LinkedIn handles in the comment tab below. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, they will be inside the description box below. And if you want to keep in touch with us in the same places below, you will also find all the social platforms you can follow us on, or directly contact us through the live chat at www.seozoom.com, or sending an email to info@seozoom.com. We will be very happy to answer any further inquiry. Anything else I forgot, Elisa?
No, it's perfectly good. So thank you, Roberta. Thank you, Veruska, for your lesson and for your kindness today with us and our audience today. Thanks for all the people that has been online with us today, and see you in the next webinar next month. Thank you, everyone, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.